missed it.
Weber brings it into the front court.
Since its invention in 1891 by James Naismith, the game of basketball has experienced numerous turning points. The invention of man-to-man defense by Fog Allen, the first slam dunk by Bob Kurland, Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points. But nothing will compare to the immense cultural revolution that will be brought about by 5 young African-American college basketball players in the 1990s. This group of Michigan basketball starters would be known as the Fab Five.
To fully understand the impact that the Fab Five had on basketball and its perception in America, one must understand the way that basketball was before their arrival.
College basketball was being played at a high level in the 1980s, and this is largely due to players staying to play in college for numerous years, as opposed to the one-and-done and straight-to-the-league approaches that would later be popularized.
The 80s were an era that saw the great rivalry of Magic and Bird and the rise of the Jordan era in the NBA. Basketball was enjoying an increasing national popularity, but was still missing an aspect that would make it the cool sport it is today. This environment set the stage for 5 incoming University of Michigan freshmen to forever change the way the game was viewed.
The 1991 University of Michigan basketball recruiting class is considered the greatest class ever recruited. The recruiting class consisted of Chris Webber and Jalen Rose from Detroit, Juwan Howard from Chicago, and Jimmy King and Ray Jackson from Texas. These 5 freshmen would influence the style of basketball for years to come.
Before the Fab Five came about, players wore white socks, white shoes, and short shorts, leaving no room for creativity or a way for players to express themselves.
With the stars of the day dressing like this, it is not difficult to imagine why basketball did not have the substantially cooler reputation it enjoys today.
The Fab Five were the first to wear baggy shorts, black socks, and black sneakers. This would set a trend in the sport of basketball in America from then on.
The Fab Five did not start their season as the superstar team they would be known as. This isn't so surprising when you account for the fact that they were all freshmen.
The Fab Five did not regularly start altogether until later in the season.
But once they started, there was no denying their prowess on the basketball court and their growing influence on American culture.
The team was unlike anything that America had seen until that time. A culture that was so accustomed to normalcy was being upheaved by the sound of hip-hop music booming from the Michigan locker room.
The Fab Five, with their swagger, chemistry, and style, were what nearly every kid in America at the time wanted to be.
As one journalist put it, jersey companies were selling Michigan apparel and socks. Kids were trading in Nirvana shirts for EPMD records, and urban youth culture was being imitated by suburban middle school to upper-class schools, while basketball teams wanted to be cool.
The Fab Five's own Jalen Rose said, "It was the bling-bling era. We wore 2 chains, 2 bracelets, 1 watch. Our clothes were oversized. We did everything bigger."
Sure, there was no doubt that they were cool, but could they play is a question on every sport fan's mind.
The Michigan basketball team had a great 1991 to 1992 regular season, resulting in a trip to the 1992 NCAA basketball tournament.
Beating team after team, the Fab Five fought all the way to the championship game, but there was a one basketball powerhouse between them and a national championship, and being remembered as one of the college basketball's all-time greatest squads.
Duke. Coached by Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke college basketball team was one of the most despised teams in all of sports, which mostly boils down to the fact that they won games.
Duke had always carried with it an air of elitism in being a mostly white school. Jalen Rose went so far as to say that he felt like they only recruited black players that were Uncle Toms.
Duke was led by one of the most hated college players of all time, Christian Laettner.
Laettner appeared to personify all that people hated about Duke, being the good-looking, arrogant, and yet immensely talented player he was.
Just looking at the 2 teams, it was clear just how different they were.
The game would end in defeat for the Fab Five in Michigan with an embarrassing 71-51 final score.
Despite being a loss, the championship game was symbolic of a larger conflict between the basketball of the past and the basketball of the future being ushered in by the Fab Five.
There was definitely a racial element to this change as well, with the Fab Five's popularity bringing African-American culture to national attention.
The following year, Michigan once again won themselves a trip to the 1993 NCAA Tournament championship game, playing against the University of North Carolina Tar Heels.
The game was extremely close, and Chris Webber of the Fab Five got the ball with Michigan losing 73-71 and time running out.
Webber dribbled down the court, and with seemingly no way out, surrounded by North Carolina players, he signaled for timeout.
But what Webber did not realize was that Michigan had already used all of their timeouts. This mistake cost the Michigan Wolverines and the Fab Five a technical foul, and as a result, the game.
Weber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts remaining.
Oh, he causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
Michigan doesn't have any.
He got by with a walk, and Jimmy calls a he calls a timeout. He doesn't realize that's Michigan's too many, and so it'll be a technical foul. North Carolina shooting and the ball.
The 71-77 final score was a crushing blow to the Fab Five and was their closest chance to sealing a championship as a group. Had they won the championship, the Fab Five could have been one of the undisputed great college basketball squads of all time and solidified their influence on American culture.
The Fab Five's influence on American culture is immense and very apparent today. All it takes is a look at what basketball players at any level are wearing for shorts. They were even able to have an impact on how the great Michael Jordan wore his uniform.
The Fab Five's personalities and chemistry contributed heavily to their influence.
Hey, tell him to calm down. Hey, tell him. Hey, dog, hey. No doubt.
Oh,
You continue.
unbelievable.
That's unbelievable, man. You calling me out.
What's the sign you're going to give me? 5 times. Young Guns.
That's 5 times. No Fab Five.
All of us brothers.
No Fab
All
Five.
of us brothers. We have that
No
relationship.
Fabulous Five.
No, yo.
None of that.
5 times.
None of that number one, all that. We just 5 times.
Just chilling. Let's go. We know.
We gonna get caught.
What up, Detroit? What's up, Detroit? Hey, I know I need a fade, but you know how we
You
do
can't
it.
get a haircut every day.
Can't get a fade every day.
We'll have one tomorrow.
I have one next time you see me.
We'll have one tomorrow.
Hey.
What up, ghetto boy?
Fab Five basketball is a national platform to challenge the status quo and spread African American culture. This is clear in the interview where they are relaxed, showing lots of personality, joking around with one another.
It is clear that if they are being anything, they are being themselves. This approach to basketball and public life that comes with it, popularized by the Fab Five, would become increasingly common in basketball and in sports in general.
Also, the mentions of dapping, getting a fade, and the showing of their own hand gesture for their squad, reminiscent of a gang sign for many, would show how the Fab Five brought African American culture more to the mainstream.
The Fab Five's affinity for hip-hop music would also have a significant impact. From then on, hip-hop music and basketball would have a special link for the rest of time to come.
It is no secret that America has had a long history of racial tension and discrimination. So for a small group of African American college basketball players to bring the culture of a minority group to the national spotlight is extremely significant.
The 5 members of the University of Michigan basketball team, known as the Fab Five, introduced a cultural shift throughout the game of basketball and the nation by bringing African American culture and a hip-hop influence to the sport, which changed the nature of basketball and brought African American culture to the mainstream United States.